Hello everybody, how are you doing today? I am Makeda Valletta, also known as the Renaissance Amazon. And I am going live on my IG page. I will then save the video and repost it to my YouTube page, the Renaissance Amazon. So if you're on IG and you don't follow me on YouTube, be sure to follow me there and vice versa, okay? Because I'm always trying to delete my stuff and block my stuff. But for those of you who are new to my page, I talk about sexuality, social issues, history, anthropology, relationships, psychology. That's what I talk about on this page. And I'm also a dancer, so this is my artistic page, the page where I talk about social issues, sexuality, and stuff like that. Then I have my other page where I talk more about health stuff, because I'm also a trainer and a nutritionist. But I am somebody, as I'm a sacred sexual educator, okay? I am a nutritionist, I'm a trainer, I'm a dancer, I'm a writer, but I'm also a sacred sexual educator. And my whole life, I have always studied the differences between men and women, you know? I have a twin brother, so I always say my other half is male. I'm a bisexual woman. I was raised in a house with both of my parents, okay? So I'm not coming from an imbalanced place when I speak about male and female dynamics, you know, and the fact that men and women have a lot in common, okay? But then we have some differences, all right? And the differences a lot of times are not what people tend to point out. Like a lot of times people say that women are jealous and possessive and that women are overly emotional and that women can't run the world because we get our period every month and we have emotional things, and people always describe women as being the overly emotional sex, okay? And today I want to talk about that, how I don't agree with that at all, okay? How I believe that men are the overly sensitive, overly emotional sex, okay? So let's look at the evidence, and I'm going to point out some recent situations, okay? So a lot of you may have heard recently about a rapper in Atlanta named Trouble. I had never heard of him before, but he was murdered by a jealous ex-boyfriend of a girl he was having sex with, right? You have all these mass shootings of men, okay, not women. The one common thread with mass shootings is not that they're white. No, it's that they're males. Because it's not just white men. There are black men, there are Hispanic men, there's all kinds of men participating in mass shootings. There was a couple times that you saw women involved, but those women were following men that they were with, okay? So you have in Tulsa, this man was in pain, so he goes and shoots the doctor. And he shoots the doctor and innocent people in the waiting room. You know how much pain women deal with? You don't see women shooting up stuff because we're in pain. Women give birth, for God's sakes. Doesn't get much more painful than that. But you don't see women going and shooting up places because of it. You don't see women murdering a woman because she's having sex with her ex or her man or whatever. But men do that all the time. And tell me how that makes sense. If you are killing another man because the woman that you're with or used to be with, who her body belongs to her, not you, she's not being raped. She's having sex with this man because she wants to have sex with this man. And you're so jealous that you kill him. So now you really can't have her. And you know what? She's going to keep living her life and she's going to keep having sex with other men. And you're behind bars. So tell me how that makes any sense. The logic behind that makes no sense. But you know what that is? That's men being overly emotional. Okay? So the overly emotional, sensitive sex who can't control their emotions, who shouldn't be running the world because of their emotional tantrums, would be men. Because women go through all kinds of things, and we don't do that. Even when you see men who are not fathers to their children. And now, I'm not saying that there aren't bad mothers in the world. I'm not saying that there aren't women who try to keep the man away. But there are a lot of men who just choose to be absentee fathers and run away from responsibilities because it's too stressful. How often do you see women doing that? You know what I'm saying? Now you have this situation. Now, another myth, okay? People always act like, oh, men want variety. Men are not meant to be, men are not Hold on a minute. I got to show you this book. They say men are not meant to be monogamous. Men like variety. Newsflash. A lot of you men don't want to hear this, but it's the same thing for women. Okay? Women like variety too. Why do you think there's so many sex toys in the sex shop for women? There's more sex toys for women. All kinds of varieties. It's so funny how the male ego, and to be honest, a lot of women tiptoe on the male ego because they want to be accepted by men. Some women like myself don't care. Okay? No. But a lot of women are lying and tiptoeing on the male ego because they know you guys are really sensitive and you can't handle the truth. And men talk all this shit about how you guys can't be monogamous because you like variety. First of all, monogamy is not really natural to begin with. And I'm not saying that nobody can be happily monogamous. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, if you really do the research, like, let me show you this book. Okay, hold on. This book right here, Sex at Dawn. If you read any book about sexuality, human sexuality, you must read this book, okay? Because a lot of books, a lot of things about human sexuality tell this narrative that women want security, so that's why women are monogamous and all this nonsense. No, this book. Read this book, Sex at Dawn. It was a New York Times bestseller. Read this book and then you'll really understand male and female sexuality for real, okay? So, oops. So the fact of the matter is that, men are always saying that, and lately I've been hearing these conversations where men, well, a lot of it has to do with Kevin Samuels, but this first you hear, I've been hearing men telling women that in their 20s they should be focused on getting married, and you should be focused on getting married in your 20s because when you get older you're all washed up and yada yada yada. When in reality, most of the people I know who got married when they were 25, they are divorced 10 years later, or they're miserable, or they almost got divorced, okay? Most of them are divorced. Most people, whoever you're with at 25, you don't want that person at 35. And the same could be true if you get married at 35. You might not want that person at 45. You know what I'm saying? There's no formula for life. Like, if you do this, then this is the one way for, things to work out. You don't know. What's important is for people to know themselves and know what their needs are. And a lot of women put their needs in the back burner to look good to society. And just because somebody's single, you have plenty of people in relationships. You have plenty of people who are married who are absolutely miserable. And they stay married to look good to society. So that's another thing I hate. I hate when people say, oh, well, that's why you're single, or that's why so-and-so's single. Like, single or married, what I'm saying? Like, are you happy? Because there's plenty of married people who are absolutely miserable. There are plenty of married people who are in sexless marriages and are not being pleased. And that's the men and the women. There are a lot of men who complain that once they got married, the sex stopped, okay? And she wasn't having sex with them like that anymore. You know why? Because a lot of men don't please women, okay? Now, that's another thing. I'm not saying all, but a lot of men don't. A lot. I honestly feel like 90% or 85% of men are lacking sexual skills, because the thing about it is men don't understand. Again, men and women have similarities, but we also have differences. And one of those differences is men can look at something and be automatically aroused, okay, and be ready to go. Men can get aroused and ready to go much faster than a woman unless something's wrong with them, okay? And men think that because they're erect, that they could just start poking a chick. You know what I'm saying? When in reality, like people in the Taoist societies, they say that male sexual energy is like fire and female sexual energy is like water. Fire is, you light a match, it's ready, right? But in order to get that water to boil, it takes longer. And work has to be done, right? And so a lot of men don't understand, so when men and women get aroused, blood rushes to the genitals, right? It's just that with men, it's much more visible. With women, it's not so visible. Right? But if you start trying to penetrate a woman and she's not aroused, the blood hasn't gone to her area yet, it's not going to be as good for her, it's not going to be as good for you. But for her, it could be very uncomfortable. And then after a while, a woman might get tired of that. Like, she might do that in the beginning because she's trying to get this husband, or she's newly married and she feels like she has to please her husband, but she's not getting pleased. And then one day she might just get tired of that. So another myth is that, men cheat, all men cheat. No, I don't believe that all men cheat, but I think that women cheat a lot as well. Okay, I don't know if I'll say as much as men, because I think if women were being more truthful with themselves, or if women were more proactive at seeking out their needs, then they probably would cheat as much as men. But I don't even like the word cheat, because you can only cheat when you're playing a game. I personally don't have this idea that I own somebody's body, but that's how most people think, okay, about relationships. Like, I'm in a relationship with you and act like it's some ownership over somebody's body. But there are a lot of women, a lot of men have had sex with somebody's girl or somebody's wife or girlfriend or whatever. So that just goes to show you that women also do that. A lot of people aren't happy, aren't being satisfied, whether that be sexually, whether that be emotionally. Okay, it's not just a male thing. So with all that being said, this whole situation with Lori Harvey, you have all these men whining and complaining because talking about Lori Harvey, first of all, the girl is 25 years old. I think it's horrible advice, okay? I think she's a very smart girl. I think it's horrible advice to tell a woman that they need to be focused on getting married at 25. Like, some people get married at 25 and more power to you. One of my best friends did that, and she's still with her husband now, and that's great. Don't know how happy they are, because you don't know inside of people's relationships. But most people who get married at that age, they end up being unhappy. And the idea that every woman is just waiting to get married to a man so he can take care of her and she could be his housewife is ridiculous. Because there are plenty of women that's not what they aspire for. You know what I'm saying? Like, they want their freedom. It's always this narrative that men want freedom, and women are trying to lock men down, and men are trying to force women to get into relationships, and women fall in love with a dude because she has sex with him. Well, that goes the other way too. I remember when I was in college, and my dad said to me, be careful with having casual sex with men, because a lot of men will think they own you after that. I remember my dad told me that when I was in college, and when he told me that, I thought at that very moment I was going through that. There might have been a dude that it was just sexual. I didn't want to be with him. And next thing I know, he's acting like he's my man. Or no. So people always say women do that. Men do that too. Okay? There are men. I've known plenty of men in my life who go on trying to be in a relationship with me, and I don't want to be in a relationship with them for a number of reasons. You know what I'm saying? I might not be physically attracted to them. They might not be pleasing me sexually. They might not be pleasing me intellectually. And they could look good on paper all day. Okay? They could be good on paper all day. So all these men who are whining and bitching and moaning and complaining about Lori Harvey and trying to down her, the girl's 25. You're supposed to be dating. And then people are like, oh, why did she waste his time? Dude, he's 35. She's 25. When people say age is nothing but a number, and that's not true. At a certain point in your life, you're in a different place. Somebody who's 35, whether it be male or female, who doesn't have any children and wants children, is usually going to be in a different place in terms of what they want and their time schedule than somebody who is 25 years old. Okay? So, listening to all these men whine about the shit when, it's just ridiculous, And I definitely think that men whine and complain about shit way more than women do. Way more. Men are so dramatic, okay? So dramatic. And I love to see women who stand up for what they want and their needs, because you don't see that enough. Too many women care about what society thinks and what men think. And a lot of times I feel like the women who stand in their power the most are the ones that are close to their fathers or had a really close father figure in their life. They're not because the women that didn't have that, they're looking for daddies in a relationship. A man never loved them before. So now that they're putting all their value in getting a husband or something. Not every woman thinks like that. Not every woman is like that. You know what I'm saying? We don't know Michael B. Jordan. But all you know, he could be whack sexually. He could have a little peen. He could have emotional and attitude character flaws that we don't know about. But it's just crazy how men just try to bash her so much because she's a beautiful woman and she wants to be free. And the fact that, and it's funny how men will insult women who you see them with different celebrities or different basketball players or whatever. And they talk about this woman. But you know what? The man pursued them. The men pursue them. When you see women with a few different rappers, a few different famous people, those men knew who their exes were and those men still pursue them. So as a woman, if you're just living your life and you're an attractive woman and dudes pursue you and you like, okay, I'll give you a chance and I'll give you guys work in the same profession, but you're pursuing me and you know, like, then you want to diss the woman. Even this situation with this rapper in Atlanta, okay, that just got murdered. And I unfollowed one dude that I know because he wrote something like, oh, he got murdered over a raggedy ass bitch. And I was like, why is she a raggedy ass bitch? I'm like, am I missing something or something I don't know from the story? So from what I can tell from the story, she had a crazy ex-boyfriend who broke into the house and this rapper troubled with sleep. And he fought her and him and killed him. How are you blaming her for that? That if I ever came into a house and saw my ex, first of all, okay, what are you breaking into somebody's house for? That's your ex. But even if I was in a relationship, I thought about this when I was in my early 20s. If I was married to a man and I came home and saw him having sex with another woman on my bed, I wouldn't shoot her. I wouldn't shoot him. If I had a problem with it, I would just leave the relationship. But I ain't trying to go to jail for murder because he's having sex with who he wants to have sex with. I like my freedom. I like to be able to smoke a blunt when I want, eat the food that I want. I'm not trying to go to jail, prison. Like, it's one thing if you go to prison for a good reason, like somebody harmed your child and then you go hurt them and now you're going to jail. You got a good reason for this shit. I definitely ain't killing nobody because they're having sex with my husband or my man or my boyfriend. That's just stupid. The fact that man decided to kill this man because he was sleeping in the bed, he wasn't raping your ex, okay? You weren't trying to save her from attack. That's not what happened. She was willingly laying in the bed with this man, and you killed him because of it. So now this woman is going to keep on living her life and having sex with the men she wants to have sex with, and you're going to be injured. Tell me how that makes any sense. But you know what that is? It's overly emotional male shit. Again, Tulsa, Oklahoma. The man was in so much pain that he went and killed the doctor and innocent people in the room. A lot of these mass shootings, they're all men. Men who couldn't get a date, so they want to go kill kids. Men who got this problem. Men who got that problem. Common thread, men. Okay? So there are similarities between men and women, like both of us are sexual beings. Both of us have needs. Okay? You can't say that a man's sex drive is higher than a woman's. It depends on what man you're talking about. Some men have really high sex drives that may be higher than some women, and vice versa. It's not a given that men always want more sex or men have a higher sex drive. No, that can go either way. It depends on the person. But both of us are sexual beings. Both of us like variety, okay? And truth be told, a lot of men are not pleasing women. But in the previous, years, previous generations, women couldn't live without a man. They needed a man to get a car. They needed a man to get a house. They needed a man to get a loan for their business. So a woman without a husband was like a kid. This is 2022. It's not that anymore. Women can do what they want. Women can make sure that their needs are met. Women don't have to be in a sucky relationship with a dude who's not even pleasing them because they need him on paper to live their life. And so now you have all this rhetoric where you have men, insulting independent women or saying, we don't care about your degrees and blah, 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 blah. There are plenty of men who do, though. Go to D.C. Go to D.C. I feel like D.C., you want to talk about a city with successful black people? I say D.C. I've never seen so many successful black people, like legit success. Not Atlanta success, which is bootleg, okay? No, D.C., okay? I don't feel like there's real money in Atlanta. I don't care what anybody says. I'm not saying nobody in Atlanta has money, but it's not real money in Atlanta. And one of the things that shows that is the fact that they don't have any high-end gyms. They don't have any high-end fitness. A gym like Equinox is in every city that has money. It's in New York. That's where it started. It's in Houston. It's in Miami. It's in LA. It's in Chicago. It's in San Francisco, in London. But you know where it's not? Atlanta. If there was a lot of money in Atlanta, they'd be there. They're in D.C., though. But in D.C., that's the most educated city in America. Like, people in D.C. almost act like you're not worthy to be talked to if you don't have degrees and higher level degrees. So the men in D.C. do care, okay? And there's a lot of men who like intelligent women, and they like that thing. They like the fact that she's educated. But you have a lot of this rhetoric now where men are like, we don't care about your degrees. We don't care that you're a boss. And da-da-da-da. And they make it seem like women are just supposed to be sitting around, doing nothing with their lives, waiting for a man to come save them and give them value and take care of them. That's ridiculous. And no woman who was raised by a good father, okay, no woman who was raised by a good father was taught that rhetoric, okay? So to the woman, definitely don't dim your light to please these insecure men. Now, I'm not saying all men are insecure, but a lot of them are. So the insecure ones who are saying all that nonsense, don't try to dumb yourself down and dim your light because you feel like I need to get a husband. And a lot of women do that. Like, there's a lot of bisexual women that I know who will hide their bisexuality because they want a man in their life. And a lot of men cannot handle it. People say that being bisexual is every man's fantasy, being with a bisexual woman. But in honesty, most men can't handle it. You know what I'm saying? And there are a lot of women who want a man by their side. So they'll just deny that part of themselves. They'll lie about it. They'll hide it. They'll suppress it. If women stop suppressing themselves and women start really being honest about their needs and what they want, a lot of men would be crying because you guys are so sensitive. Okay? The male ego is so sensitive. Like, a lot of men wouldn't be able to handle it. And a lot of women know that. That's why they don't tell you the truth. Okay? But men will talk all this shit all day. Okay? And then if it comes back, if a woman says the same thing, well, I like variety and your dick isn't big enough and you're not pleasing me, okay? Men don't want to hear that. They don't. You know what I'm saying? They wouldn't be able to handle that. So I'm just saying. So I just had to say that because I just feel like the whole point of this video was that men and women have a lot in common, but we have our differences. And one of those differences is that I definitely feel like men are the more sensitive, overly dramatic sex. Okay? And that is shown. And when it comes to emotions, people say, oh, men can't show emotions. Men show emotions when they're doing, shooting up the block or shooting up a school or whatever because they couldn't have something, because somebody hurt their feelings. Or a man gets his heart broken once. They can't get over that shit for their whole fucking life because the chick broke their heart like years ago. You know what I'm saying? Men are the more, and that's why I hate when people say, stop acting like a little girl, stop crying like a little girl. Because to me, I've seen grown-ass men that act way more bitchy than any little girl ever act, okay? So stop putting that shit on us. Stop putting that overly emotional, whiny shit on women and girls. When really it's men. It's men who are overly fucking emotional, whiny, can't handle the truth, and want to keep pushing this narrative, all right? All right, so more power to Lori Harvey for being a 25-year-old gorgeous woman who can do what she wants in this world, and nobody knows why she didn't want to be with Michael B. Jordan, but I mean, to me, he always seemed really corny. But the fact of the matter is, we don't know anything about him for real. And there's nothing worse than a man who, I've known men who are good on paper, they look good, but sexually, oh no. It's almost to the point, another difference between men and women, men send a lot of unsolicited dick pics, right? Like any woman can tell you, we get unsolicited dick pics all the time. Women don't send unsolicited, pussy pics to people. We don't just we just don't send it to random dudes just cause. That's not. Men do that all the time, and I find it funny. But I really find it funny when men send it and their dick is less than impressive. Okay. There's some women who get mad about these pictures, and that's another difference between men and women. Men don't get mad about those like a woman sending them that. But I see the value in them now because nothing is worse than liking a man and getting, starting to be sexual with him, and you realize his dick is too small. And then you don't even want to go further. But most men are going to get mad if you say that. So a lot of women will give him pity sex and just go along with it anyway because they don't want to hurt his feelings. But the older you get, okay, the less that women are in the mood for that. When I speak to a lot of women who are my age, maybe in your early 20s, you're like, but at this point, anybody trying to be bothered with that. So now women have all kinds of things that they want to do to make sure that he is well endowed enough to be bothered. Because they could start talking to this dude, and he seems so nice, and he seems like such a great guy. And then she's like, what is his dick like, though? Because I don't want to keep wasting time and getting involved. And because that's huge. I mean, 10 years ago, I made a rule that not to fall in love with a man until I've had sex with him first, you know? And I had an ex 10 years ago who I kind of did fall in love with him before I had sex with him. And I remember the first day I saw him naked and I saw his little piece of meat, and I was really disappointed. And I remember thinking to myself, because I'm like, damn, like I really liked him. Then I start feeling shallow. But I need what I need. You know what I'm saying? I need what I need. And I remember thinking, well, maybe because, you know, maybe when he's really aroused, it'll get bigger. Or maybe this, maybe that. And no. So, it sounds bad, but I mean, if sex is an important, sexual compatibility and sex is an important part of a relationship. If you put that on the back burner thinking it's not that important because he has money and he looks good and he's this and this and that, but the sex sucks, you're going to be miserable soon. And do you want to put yourself in a situation where you're committing to a lifetime of bad, miserable sex where your needs are not being met? Or are you going to be sneaking around online? I respect those who just walk in truth and go after what they want and make sure their needs are met. And don't be so desperate for a man that you're willing to put up with whatever. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I see in Lori Harvey. You know, she don't, just because, okay, a lot of chicks are in love with Michael B. Jordan, and these dudes, they just stuck on his little Black Panther role, which I didn't even like that movie at all, okay? That was like a waste of 3 hours of my life. But a lot of men are thinking that he's that person when he's just playing a role. And you just want to cry and whine and hate on Lori Harvey because she broke up with him. Like, come on, stop with the whining. Pull your panties at your ass. Stop complaining, okay? Grab onto your balls and increase your testosterone and act like a man should. Okay? So that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to end this conversation with that. All right? If you're not following me on YouTube, make sure you follow me at The Renaissance Amazon. If you're not following me on IG, be sure to follow me there as well. And I hope you guys have a good day. All right? Bye.